Hello, welcome to Preventing the Upcoming 2022 Zombie Apocalypse. I'm Allie Duzette. I run allieduzetteclasses.com, and I'm really glad that you're here. This week, we are talking about the zombie apocalypse of 2022, also known as the global transition to the Scorpio-Taurus nodal path. We're going to discuss what this shift is and what it means and how to work with it so that you don't have to struggle through the shift. We're going to talk about dealing with the zombies in our lives proactively now so that they don't eat us alive in the future. So my name is Allie Duzette. Those are my websites, allieduzetteclasses.com and allieduzette.com. I am a Christian, LDS. I'm a medical intuitive by profession and an astrologer. I have 5 kids and I'm very, very fun. And also don't forget to like and subscribe. That's what you always have to say on YouTube videos. So I just said it. Like and subscribe, my friends. Last week, we talked about America's Pluto return, the Uranus return of the Great Depression, the Saturn-Uranus opposition of 2008, and the square that's happening now, how it's been 400 years since the Mayflower Compact, and we're entering a Shemitah year. And actually, as of this recording, right this exact moment, the sun is going down where I am, and we are beginning the next Shemitah year immediately. I mean, by the time I'm done recording this YouTube video, we will have begun the Shemitah year that I talked about in this video called America's Pluto Return, prepping for 2022. And then we also discussed the possible ending of the half hour of silence. So we had a lot to talk about, but each of those things has way more to talk about than I talked about in that video. So before we begin, like and subscribe, get on my email list. You can get on my list by going to allieduzetteclasses.com and registering for the free offerings. And that is where you'll get a bunch of access to free classes, and you'll be put on my email list, and we'll talk about healing stuff. Tonight, don't forget about a paper and pencil for taking notes, because we're going to use them, and get some water, of course. And let's get started. Okay, what is a nodal path? The lunar nodes are mathematical points calculated off the sun and the moon and the Earth's orbits. So you can find pictures, like if you Google like lunar nodes, you can see a bunch of pictures of how they're calculated. And it's a calculation based on the elliptical orbits of these different heavenly bodies. But the point that we're having to deal with is that there's always 2 nodes. All the time, there's always 2. There's a north node and a south node, and they are always exactly across from each other. And the north node is shaped like a lucky horseshoe. You can see it right here. Ding. And the south node is shaped like a basket. Okay, so you always move from the south node to the north node. And that is what creates the trajectory of the axis. So when I say that we're going from Scorpio to Taurus, that means the south node is in Scorpio, the north node is in Taurus. Okay, you always go from the south to the north. That is what creates the trajectory. You like my really good art here? This is why I'm not an artist. I am an astrologer. Okay. Understanding the nodal axis. The nodes are always in 2 opposing signs. So you're always going to find them in a straight line on a chart. So for example, you might find them in like Virgo, Pisces. So you might find them on that axis, or you might find them in Leo and Aquarius, which is how we see these nodes right here, except we see that it is going from Aquarius with this basket up to Leo, making the horseshoe, right? So every 18 months, the nodes switch for the entire planet. So there's always a nodal axis that's going on all the time for everybody in the whole world. All human beings and all animals, like everything in the whole planet is being affected by this nodal path for the entire globe. So this is a global energy, right? The Pluto return for America is a little bit specific to America, except for the fact that as America goes, so goes the world. But But this truly is a global energy, the nodal axis. Okay, everyone in the whole earth, it doesn't matter where you live or where you're from, anything like that. Whatever the nodes are doing right now is affecting everybody on the whole planet. And then they switch every 18 months. So you are born with a nodal axis, and that nodal axis indicates your general life mission on Earth. Okay, so when you sit down to do a star chart reading, when the astrologer looks at the nodal path, they're kind of looking at what are the lessons that you came here to learn, and what are you trying to master. Okay, so you're coming down here with your karmic baggage, your like weird stuff that you're dealing with. Why did you come here? What are the problems you came here to solve? And then this is how you're solving them. And how kind of like your life goal, like the life mission. Your mission is to end up over here, right? So there's always an active nodal axis, and the active axis affects everybody on the planet at that time. So this is America's natal axis, which goes from Aquarius. This is the squiggles of Aquarius to Leo, and you can see it kind of looks like a lion mane, little lion head, little lion mane. Aquarius to Leo indicates that part of America's life mission is to go from Aquarius energy to Leo energy. So Aquarius marches to the beat of its own drum. It's very humanitarian centered, and it wants to save the world. Leo, on the other hand, is very individualistic and charismatic. And I always think of Leo as Simba from The Lion King. So in kind of its negative aspect, you can think of Simba at the beginning of The Lion King. I just can't wait to be king, right? He's like so out of control, like just wants to be king, and he doesn't care about what problems he's going to solve, or what problems he's going to cause as he goes to the elephant graveyard. But at the end of the movie, he's Leo in its power, which is so charismatic and wise and such a good leader that that even the rain can't stop itself. Like the forces of nature combine to support Leo, to support Simba, right, in his taking back what rightfully belongs to him. So this is the natal axis for America. Okay, kind of going from like we have to save the whole world to stepping into charisma and wise leadership. Okay, so we have an 18-year cycle. All nodal axes have an 18-year cycle. So that means that we have the same axis every 18 years for 18 months. And so every 9 years, we have the opposite axis. So if you are born with a Virgo to Pisces axis, when you turn 9 years old, the axis for the whole world is going to be Pisces to Virgo. But then 9 years later, it's going to be Virgo to Pisces again. So when you turn 18, generally speaking, or like approximately, you're going to be experiencing the same nodal axis that you were experiencing when you were born. Your home axis. You get it again when you're 18, you get it again when you're 36, 54, 72. And those are kind of like really great years to revisit what our life missions are and how we're doing. And some astrologers kind of think that's why we have decided as a society that 18 is when you're a grown-up, because astrologically speaking, that's when everybody is being triggered to like go back to your life mission roots. What is your life mission? Like it's going to be triggering your space at the age of 18 for everybody. Even though we're all born at different times, no matter when you're born, around the time you're 18, the nodal axis is going to be the same as it was when you were born. So we've had, we always have a nodal axis. So I was going to go through some of the ones we've had recently. November 6th, 2018 to May 5th, 2020, we were in Capricorn to Cancer. And so we saw kind of a shift to what you might call patriarchy to matriarchy, from work to home, and tribal thought. Okay. Cancer is all about tribe and family and belonging and mother. And Capricorn is all about father and working, and it's kind of like less tribal and more, I don't know, I guess like corporate, you could say. And sure enough, right around May 5th, by May 5th, 2020, we had all been called home from work, right? That's when the lockdowns were all starting to begin, was right at the end of this. And during this transit from Capricorn to Cancer, that was also when in the LDS church, church time was reduced from 3 hours to 2 hours. And we had this big also call from church to home and home church, learning the important things from the home became the central focus during that time. From May 5th, 2020 to January 18th, 2022, we've had Sagittarius to Gemini, and that is what we're working through right this minute. We have a couple more months where we're still dealing with this Sagittarius to Gemini nodal axis, which is all about science versus personal observation, the professor versus the elementary school teacher. And are we... it's basically a huge conflict between the professors and the experts versus what you're seeing with your own eyes. If you were not watching the news, would your personal observations match the do the things that you are experiencing in your real life, do they match what you're seeing on the news? That's really something that we are having to deal with as a global society right now, as we're transiting the Sagittarius to Gemini nodal path. But on January 18th, 2022, we're shifting from Scorpio to Taurus. Okay. And this is a transit that is all about transformation versus stability, and the subconscious mind versus the material world. What is floating around in the hidden depths of everybody, and how is it going to show up in real life? That is the next transit that we're looking at, and it all starts on January 18th. So our current axis is Sagittarius to Gemini. And I talked about it just briefly for a moment, but we'll dig into it a little bit more. Sagittarius is this arrow shape, and that refers to kind of the professor, theologian, scientist, and sabbatical traveler. So the Sagittarius is the energy of like, I'm going to India for 3 months. Gemini is much more present. It's right here, right now. It's the elementary school teacher and the observer right here. And Gemini is all about short trips. So while Sagittarius is like, we're going on sabbatical to India, the Gemini kind of short trips is like, I'm going to the grocery store. And so you can see how on a global level, we've really been dealing with this energy in a lot of ways, as far as, again, trusting the scientific experts and like the newscasters and stuff versus, does your own personal experience jive with what you see on TV? Or on a theological level, people in many churches have been dealing with some big theological struggles right now. Do we agree with what, whatever church leaders are saying? Does that back up with our personal experience? And you can see how that has affected people on a wide variety of levels. Just almost any kind of personal life issue that could be touched by theology, it has been recently, and a lot of people are all over the place because of it, and having to really dig deep. Am I going to trust my religious leader right now, or am I going to trust, my own personal revelation, that kind of thing? That's really a very archetypal Sagittarius to Gemini kind of struggle. And then, of course, traveling, right? On a global level, we have really been called home. There has not been a lot of sabbatical traveling, but we have still been able to do some short trips as a society, right? So, a lot of us have canceled vacations, particularly in 2020, right? Maybe not so much this year, but last year, at the height of this Sagittarius to Gemini situation, people were avoiding the long trips, avoiding far travel, and instead, like really just doing the short trips. Maybe I can't go visit, my relatives often wherever, but I can still go to the grocery store. I can still go to, the doctor, whatever. So we've really been able to see on a global level what the Sagittarius to Gemini situation looks like. And it really is different for every single person, but all of us have had this flavor to our lives. Even, our children who don't even know any better, they are still being saturated with this energy, as even they have to deal with the reality that, no, sorry, we're not going to go on an international vacation this year. Like we're, the biggest trip we're going to go take is to the grocery store. And again, we all deal with this message. Do you trust, quote unquote, trust the science, or do you trust what you see with your own eyes? Are you trusting, these various experts and leaders in all sorts of fields of science and politics and religion? Or are we trusting what we're feeling on our own internal self? So that's what we've been dealing with all of this past year and a half. But we're not really here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the new nodal axis, Scorpio to Taurus. That would be Comic Sans, the scariest of all fonts. Dun, dun, dun. Astrology is the language of archetypes. And I just want to pause here quickly to say that I do have a class, a full-length class on these archetypes, and it's called Astrology 101, and you can find it at allyduzetclasses.com. And I do recommend that class. And if you go through it, you're going to understand everything so much better. I just really recommend it for anybody that's interested in astrology. But we're just going to deal with what we're going to deal with today. Okay, Scorpio is the sign that goes with Pluto in the 8th house. So Scorpio and Pluto and the 8th house all deal with sex, death, transformation, and the things that people don't want to see or deal with. Some people call the 8th house the closet, or like the subconscious mind. And it kind of holds all the stuff that, makes us uncomfortable, and we just don't want to deal with it. Taurus, on the other hand, is the sign associated with Venus and the 2nd house. So all of those three things go hand in hand: Taurus, Venus, 2nd house, and it deals with money and values and stability and the earth. Okay, so on the one hand, we have Scorpio, and Scorpio is a water sign, and it's also like the most watery water sign. And on the other hand, Taurus is the most earthy earth sign. So right now, starting in January of 2022, we're moving as a whole global society from the deep water and the hidden darkness of Scorpio to the stability of Taurus, starting in January of 2022. So what we're going to be expecting is a big stirring up of personal, national, and global stuff. Just anything that's hidden, anything that is stuck in hidden darkness, we're going to expect that it starts to show up in real life, right? If Scorpio is the subconscious mind, Taurus is real life. It's right here. Taurus is the farmer. It deals with the stuff that's happening right here, right now, and on an earthy plane, on the earthy level. So we are going to be seeing how the things that are hidden are going to be showing up in real life. So right now, we can see how the current nodal path has affected people personally and nationally and globally, right? On a personal level, we've all had to deal to some extent with COVID stuff, belief stuff, expert stuff, school stuff, and travel stuff, but we've also seen how that has been happening on a national level and on a global level. On this entire planet, everybody is dealing with COVID stuff, belief stuff, expert stuff, school stuff, and travel stuff. Everyone is dealing with that right now. So how will having a Scorpio South Node affect us? Globally, nationally, and personally, we are all going to have to deal with the hidden things coming to the surface. And yes, that is the Loch Ness monster. We have to deal with the skeletons in the closet. This is the time when the hidden agendas and the unresolved negative baggage can come up for reckoning. When the skeletons in your closet come alive, what is that? It is the zombie apocalypse. So coming up, our inner zombies are going to be clawing towards security. The upcoming nodal axis applies to everyone in the whole world. For all of us, there is going to be an 18-month theme of the hidden things of darkness coming to light and a massive march towards security at any cost. It is a big transformation, okay? Where Scorpio is the hidden stuff in the deep water of our hearts. Taurus is the stuff we're growing around us in our garden, okay? And what we're going to be seeing is those skeletons in the closet are coming forward to grow in our garden, okay? They are coming to life and taking shape. And the big theme is that our subconscious minds are just aching for security, okay? We are trying to transform what is hidden into something that can make us secure. That is the real goal. Okay, so over here on the right, you can see a double chart, or what is also called a synastry chart. And on the inside, we have the inner ring set to January 31st, 2022 in Springville, Utah. And I cut off what is going on the external ring, but I have it on another page, but that's just a transit later on. So this is the inner ring is showing what is going to be happening a couple days after the nodal shift happens. And then the outer ring is what's going on when the sun will be in Leo. So this is going to be like August area. Okay, the hidden agendas are going to be moving to be transformed into simplicity, truth, and stability. The Scorpio-Taurus axis is all about releasing manipulation. We're going to be letting go of reliance on other people's resources. We'll be dealing with weaponized sexuality, strategies, and hidden agendas. All of that is on the Scorpio end. And from there, we're going to be flowing into the simplicity, groundedness, the simple truths, the connection with the earth, earning your own living, going from the shifting water of Scorpio to the stable, secure earth of Taurus. That's kind of the overall trajectory here. Except for one thing, which is that Uranus is in Taurus as well. So Taurus is this little orange circle with a little hat. It's actually the bull. So it looks like the bull head with horns, okay? And you can see here is our beautiful horseshoe. And this purple guy with giant ears is Uranus, okay? And Uranus shakes up everything. Uranus is all about destruction, okay? It shifts things and it breaks them down so that you can have something new show up, okay? So destruction is not an inherently bad thing, but it is a thing, and it is worth being aware of, because anytime that there is destruction, there is the possibility of new opportunities, but there's also the destruction of the old ones, right? So it's just really good to be aware of. So this is happening in January, and this is happening in like July and August. So you can see that this north node is going to be really close to that Uranus. Ding, ding, ding. And whenever planets are right next to each other, you really feel it a lot, and they impact each other a lot. Although I will say this is not a planet, it's a mathematical point, but even so, whenever you have a mathematical point very close to a planet, you're going to feel the energy of both of them very intensely. So we're moving away from the hidden agendas and dealing with the skeletons in the closet, and we're clawing our way towards security, except for that all of the security that we're digging towards is going to be shaken up and destroyed. And that's because of this Taurus, this orange Taurus guy and this purple Uranus. This purple Uranus is in Taurus. And everything that we're going to be working for as a society, going from down here, Scorpio, all the way up to Taurus, it's going to be shaken up. And this is Mars, by the way. I didn't even talk about that at all. But Mars is going to be right there too. Mars is the fiery god of war. So here we have our seeking for stability is right next to the changer and destroyer, who's right next to the god of war. So that looks fun. So the one key date here is August the 9th, 2022. If you have something to take notes on, I would take notes on that. And honestly, I would put it in your phone, because, with these dates like this, maybe nothing crazy will happen that day. And maybe the crazy thing that happens will be later that week, or, just sometime in the month of August. But I think it would be really interesting for you personally to keep your eye on this time period and just see like what shows up during that week of August 9th. That is a massive upheaval of security. What have we been striving for this whole time? We just want to feel safe. We just want to be secure. And so what shows up when Uranus and the North Node are exact and Mars is just a few degrees away? So that will be a really interesting date to keep an eye on. Okay, in a nutshell, from January the 18th, 2022 to July 17th, 2023, we're looking at hidden agendas coming to light, power struggles, weaponized sexuality, manipulation, the skeletons in the closet taking life on a global, national, and personal level. And while we're supposed to be moving towards stability, Uranus is going to be shaking up whatever stability we can find. So this is a really intense situation, right, in lots of areas. And so I wrote this warning here. This does not mean that things have to be bad, okay? It really doesn't. We choose our attitude going in, and that impacts our personal outcome. Our personal outcome does not have to be bad. I do really think that on a global level, most people are just not that enlightened, and most people are not going to be doing the kind of things that we're going to be talking about in the next few minutes. So they're not going to be prepared. But you can be prepared. And if you are prepared, your personal life does not have to be crazy. We get to learn to trust one step at a time. I got a question. What does it mean, weaponized sexuality? It really can mean a whole lot of things. And I think we're going to see it in a whole lot of ways, like so many ways. I think on all sides of, sexuality issues right now. So just this past week, we had, a bunch of stuff show up with the abortion issue in Texas, and kind of, on both sides, I think people are feeling attacked and attacky, as far as like people that, are really happy about the abortion ban in Texas. On the other side of the coin, you have people really upset about it. And so both sides are feeling like the other side is trying to attack them. And you kind of can see that as far as like LGBTQ issues as well, where on the one side of the coin, you can have maybe like the more religious types feeling like people on the LGBTQ spectrum are like weaponizing their sexuality. But then on the other hand, those same people, the people that are dealing with same-sex attraction and that kind of thing, feel like the religious people are weaponizing their own sexuality and saying like, oh, you're just trying to control me, like you just think that I'm evil, that kind of thing. So those are ways that we can view it. Other ways that we would see weaponized sexuality would be like pornography issues, child trafficking. I mean, if there ever were any kind of societal breakdown, rape as a weapon, like all of these kinds of things are possible interpretations of the concept of weaponized sexuality. Okay, so and the thing is, all of these different things like hidden agendas coming to light, power struggles, you know, what does it mean to have power struggles? There's a whole lot of different ways that can take shape. On all of these different things that we're talking about, it can show up really differently for everybody involved, right? Any person, like on a global level, on a personal level, on a national level, these things are going to show up in a lot of different ways, and they're going to show up in a lot of different ways for us personally, and so that's what we're going to be talking about right now. Okay. As I was thinking about this situation, the story of Odysseus came into my mind, and hopefully you're familiar with the story of the Odyssey. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but here's the take-home parts. Odysseus spends 10 years at war in Troy. Then it's time to come home. So he fights all sorts of sea monsters and weaponized sexuality, right? He has all those like the Circe types, trying to seduce him. And he's being manipulated and all this kind of stuff. So he's dealing with that really Scorpio energy, and he is doing it all because he's going to go back to Taurus, right? The land, his house, his farm, and his family. And that is all that he wants. He just wants to get back to his stability. And he shows up at home and finds out that the stability that he expected to find at his home, on his land, on his own island with his wife and his kid, it's completely upended and in complete upheaval. So to me, this was a really good example of the energy, the overall energy that we're looking at for the next 18 months, starting in January of 2022. It's going to be Odysseus energy, where we have all been fighting a long fight, right? Like, who here had a really great time with like the COVID lockdowns, like all of this crazy stuff? Like, who's having the time of their life? Probably not many people. Probably a lot of us are just tired. Like, we're just tired of it. And so we fought the good fight. And now all sorts of, the quote unquote sea monsters are going to show up from Scorpio. We're going to be fighting. And we just want to go home. We just want the stability. We just want to accomplish the quest. And except that the stability is, it has that Uranus energy there. Whatever we think we're going to find in our stable place is actually going to be a little bit in upheaval. For Odysseus, he came home and found that, everyone thought he was dead. And so his wife is being courted by all these horrible suitors that have taken over his land. And it's like this huge disaster. So anyway, it's a great epic, and you should read it if you haven't. Okay. So this is the practical reality. The things that I will personally be expecting for January 2022 until it ends in whenever in 2023, we're going to be seeing the hidden agendas come to light, and perhaps some overcorrection in favor of security and stability. So one example of this is kind of like Australia, where they're like, one COVID case, they're going to shut down the entire country in the favor of security against like one illness, that kind of thing. So that's just an example of some kind of energies that we might be seeing, is like whenever something scary comes up, we might be seeing some big overcorrections, like, oh no, we better make things secure at any cost. But the things that we initially might think would make us secure and stable might not actually make us secure and stable. And we are going to be expecting this on a global level, a national level, and a personal level, okay? And I used those three terms as kind of like a shorthand, because we're not just going to see it on those levels. I think we're going to see that on an organizational level as well, as far as like the churches that we go to and, the organizations that we belong to. You'll see it at your company. You're going to see it at your church. You're going to see it at your volunteer organization, or whatever you do, whatever organizations that you belong to, all of them are going to be affected by this axis, because realistically, all things on the planet are always being affected by these axes. And so that this isn't going to be new. You're just going to be aware of it. Okay. These things are always happening and they're always affecting things. But now the big difference is that you're going to know about it. And knowledge is power. So what do we do? What can you control? Can you control the planet, the country, your company? No, you cannot do that. You cannot control those things. The thing that you can control is you. So when we want to prevent a zombie apocalypse from happening in our own lives, we have to stop obsessing over the planet and the country and turn our focus within. Okay? You control your own outcome. Okay, perception is everything. So what do you perceive? The way that you perceive the world is what becomes true for you. Okay, so you can write that down if you want to, but this is really going to come down to your own experience. Your own oh, come on, there's a word for it. But what you put in is what you're going to put out, is what you're going to get out of this situation. Okay. So if we can heal the skeletons in our own closets, when we are confronted with other people's skeletons, we won't be triggered and we won't be operating from a space of unconsciousness. And when we're confronted with our own skeletons, we're going to notice it and be like, oh, I know what's happening here. I get it. I understand what's going on. So I don't need to freak out. I just need to resolve it. Okay. The zombies in our personal zombie apocalypse are not the bad guys. Okay. The dark stuff in our own hearts, that's not the bad guy. Those are kind of good guys, actually. They're trying to help us. Okay. The dark stuff that we don't want to deal with is really a gift to us because it's helping us heal our own souls, so that we can have an overall better life. I don't know if you've had that experience where you've had something, in your life that's been really terrible. You didn't want to deal with it. And then you did deal with it and your life just got so much better because you dealt with it, that is the gift of this upcoming transit. But it can be a gift or it can be a curse. And all that determines that is how conscious we are. So our job right now, particularly for the next 4 months between now and January, we have this special time where we get to work on bringing the unconscious to our consciousness. Okay, we get to focus on taking the stuff that maybe we don't even know is in our hearts and making it conscious and resolving it. We get to deal with it. All of the stuff that we're ashamed of, embarrassed about, afraid of, the family secrets that we don't want to deal with, maybe the stuff that we did ourselves long ago that we're embarrassed about, and maybe we know we need to resolve it and we don't know how, or it feels too scary. This is the time to resolve it. We resolve it now, then it won't be there to resolve in January 2022 and beyond. Because what we really don't want it around for is August 9th of 2022, right? When everything is going to be just shaken up. So the more of what you can call kind of shadow work you do right now is going to be paying off really intensely in just a really great way. So how do we make what is unconscious conscious? Okay. We have to start taking steps to heal the things that we don't want to face. Okay. It is time to get real with ourselves. here's the thing. I think on a global level, maybe a lot of us are sitting here saying like, oh yeah, there's definitely hidden agendas, right? Like I feel like I could name you like 10 hidden agendas off the top of my head, just from various, global players. But what about my hidden agenda, right? What about your hidden agenda? Okay. Do you have one? Do I have one? Or are we personally allowing ourselves to fall victim to somebody else's hidden agenda, right? So what's your hidden agenda? And is it possible that you are the victim of your mom's personal agenda, or your boyfriend's hidden agenda, or somebody else's hidden agenda? Like the hidden agenda of like Netflix, or these other, or Google, where they're like kind of controlling not Netflix, but like Google and like Facebook censorship. How are we being victims to other people's hidden agendas? Okay, are we manipulating anybody? Am I manipulating somebody? Are you manipulating somebody? Where in our hearts are we the ones that are guilty of manipulation? Okay, and where are we allowing ourselves to be manipulated? Okay, and I am talking about this on a global level and on a national level and on a personal level, because I think probably, again, a lot of us could see how we've been, and we don't even have to think about it as a loaded term, but we've all been manipulated during this COVID thing, even just as far as going to the grocery store and having to follow the rules to go to the grocery store or whatever, right? So it doesn't always even have to be like bad meaning manipulations or something, but now is the time for us to open our eyes and see, like, where am I having to be forced into somebody else's agenda? What are the things in our own closets that we don't want to see, right? The skeletons in the closet that you don't want to deal with, okay? The stuff that just makes you feel icky when you think about it, so you just close the door on it and you're like, I'm not going to deal with that. And what about the things in yourself that you don't want other people to see, right? Are you like very ashamed of something, or what are those things in your life where you're like, oh my gosh, if this person knew this secret about me, they would not want to be friends with me anymore? Like, those are the things that we have to deal with right now. We have to deal with them. We have to deal with them. What are we ashamed of? What are we hiding? Okay. Now, on a global level, all of these questions are going to be showing up in full force. Okay. We're going to be looking at things like censorship. Like, what a great, metaphor for the hidden agenda, right? And we're going to be seeing these big machinations and manipulations. But you can't control that. You cannot control that. You control what is going on inside of you. Okay. So when you get all upset about these big scale situations of hidden agendas and manipulations and skeletons in the closet of companies and churches and scientists and governments, as all of these things are coming out and they start to freak you out, it's time to pause and take a deep breath and say, nope, that is not my business. My business is me. What is the yucky stuff from my own soul that needs to be coming up and dealt with? Okay, so this nodal shift happens on January 18th, 2022. So we have a few months to prepare, okay? And so this is my big invitation to you, is to think ahead, because as we work right now to deal with what is going on inside of our own hearts, there's going to be less stuff to pop up by surprise then, okay? We have this really great window to focus on the skeletons in our closets and prevent them from becoming zombies. The more awareness we have on what is going on within our own souls, the easier it's going to be when we find ourselves in the middle of 2022's zombie apocalypse. And I've already seen how amazing this is just from talking about this in my Facebook group. I've been getting these like very great, just remarkably self-aware messages and posts in that group from people who said, oh, like, now that I know what's going on, that we're having these skeletons in the closet are starting to show up. I know it now. Like I know that that is what's happening, so I can deal with it. And that's exactly right. As we sit here and say, you know what, universe, I want to be ready for 2022, so help me now. Help me face this stuff now before it's going to be out of control. Okay. It is time to face the things that we don't want to face. And I can't remember if I have a slide about this somewhere on here or not, but I want to tell it to you with my own voice right here. When I was a kid, I had this realization that if we were all here on Earth to learn life lessons, and like all the horrible stuff are because like God's trying to teach you something, which is what I believed at the time. And I will say I don't really totally believe that now. But at the time I did believe that, and I do believe there's lessons to be learned from that concept. But I realized that if everything terrible that happens to us is because we need a life lesson, I just started to ask God, like, God, can you just teach me my life lessons early? Like, instead of having my life fall apart because I haven't learned to be kind enough or charitable enough, can you just teach me that separately? Can we just learn this in advance? And I really feel like that has been a good prayer for me, and I still pray it. And I always try to think ahead and just think, okay, God, whatever is coming up next in my life, what are the things that I need to know now so that I don't create a terrible situation for myself in the future? And this is the big invitation right now, is we have these 4 months. We know that in 4 months, hidden agendas, manipulations, the dark stuff in our souls is going to be coming out and taking form. So we get these 4 months to be proactive and say, okay, I'm going to start dealing with this now so that it doesn't kick me in the butt for the next 18 months starting in January. Okay. In my Facebook group, which is called Intuitive Healing with Ali Duzette, I hope to see you there. It's very fun. And on my email list, I challenged people to do a 2-minute challenge. We set a timer for 2 minutes, and then it was time to write down all the stuff in your life that you've been afraid to face. Okay, what hurts when you think about it? When you think about having this conversation, oh, it just makes you feel sick to your stomach, okay? What memories make you want to curl up and cry, or curl up and even die? What things in your mind or body or soul stress you out so much that you would rather look away and pretend they're not there than face? These are the things that we need to clear. And we're going to be doing the 2-minute challenge right this second. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, pull out your pen and paper because it's really happening right now. Okay, I'm going to mute myself, and we're all going to spend 2 minutes or 1 minute because I don't know, it's a video and we can do that too, but we're going to spend a few seconds and just write down the things that we don't want to deal with. So ready, set, go. Okay, you can keep going on this if you want to, but writing down the things that you don't want to deal with is the first step to actually dealing with them. So you can keep doing that. And whatever is coming into your mind, just keep writing it down. These are your top priorities for the next few months. Okay. I'm so glad that you hopefully took that few seconds to just write those things down, because just being aware of them just opens up so many new possibilities for your energy. Okay. And it is so important to work on these issues. And we have to work on them basically right now, because whatever you don't work on now will come up and will force your attention in the next 2 years. Okay. All of these things you just wrote down, you wrote them down because they're already somewhere on your mind and soul saying, hello, I am a priority. Okay. Whatever you don't deal with now is going to come back and bite you in the butt in 6 months. Okay. So you get a choice. You get to proactively deal with the things that you don't want to face, or you get to deal with your own zombie apocalypse. The choice is up to you. So how will you face these things that you don't want to face? Right now is the time to take action, okay? We've got to forgive. We need to reach out and close the door and resolve things, okay? Obviously, each situation, it's going to look different. So those are just 5 possibilities of how we will need to face these different things that we need to face. But now is the time to figure out how to resolve these things, whatever they are. We've got to deal with them somehow, okay? And they might be, things that are like very practical. So like for my own self, one of my big things that I need to deal with is my physical body health. And so for me, I need to be taking action, right, with that. But then there's other things that are like the emotional issue of being heard, or some conversations with some loved ones that I don't really want to do. Like I just don't want to talk about that stuff. So each of these different situations for me is going to look really different from each other, and they're going to look different from your situations and how you have to handle those. But what is the first step that you need to take to resolve the things on your list? Okay, I just want you to write down one thing. What is one thing that you can do to take the first step to deal with one thing on your list? Okay. And so as you're writing that, I just want to say that this is just so powerful, and I know for my own life, like the past, I was going to record this video about a week ago, and I set it up, and then I started to cough, and I could not get past the first like 3 slides. So I turned it off and said, okay, I'll deal with it later. And then what came up was all of the skeletons in my own closet about feeling safe to be heard. And like, I basically, like, my body was reacting against this idea that that it wasn't safe to talk about these things and have people actually listen to them. And so I had to really dig into this, and honestly, I didn't want to. And so it was just like 2 days ago that I finally got out my journal and forced myself to start writing out all of my thoughts about this, because a lot of the kind of emotional work that you're going to have to do is going to be best done in journaling. But I know from personal experience, sometimes you just don't want to deal with it because you don't want to face it, because it's your Scorpio issues that you don't want to face. But you just have to force yourself to do it and write it down. So anyway, hopefully you've written down the first thing that you need to do. So here's a good question. What about the things that are so hidden that we can't see them? Okay, I got this question a couple times in the past 2 weeks as I've been working in my Facebook group with people about all of this stuff, where they'll say, I can't even think of anything. I don't have any, hidden problems. Well, guess what? Yeah, you do. Because if you did not have hidden problems, then you would be dead. Or resurrected and like a translated perfect being. If we are not perfect, then we have hidden problems. And the issue is just that we are not aware of them, right? Because we have problems. Obviously, we all have problems, or else we would be perfected beings. We're not. So there's something there that you're going to have to resolve during the Scorpio Taurus transit. And so it's your job to figure out what it is. Okay, so this is when I would say it's time to meditate, it's time to pray. It's time to set the intention. That means you just choose it in your mind. You're going to choose in your mind that the hidden skeletons in your closet present themselves now so that you can resolve them before they become the zombies of your own personal zombie apocalypse. Okay. So just making that choice and just saying, okay, brain, like, let the skeletons in the closet come forward, just let me know what they are. Just saying that to yourself is so powerful. And you will see for yourself how, as you invite your brain and spirit to help you figure out what's hidden, they're going to help. Your brain doesn't want your issues hidden. Okay. Your spirit wants you to heal. So being willing to see the things that you don't want to see can make a big difference. Just saying, hey guys, I'm willing. I'm willing. I know it's not going to be fun, but I'm willing to see. That can make a big difference. So here's a word of warning. Sorry, guys. Sometimes the things our brain and our subconscious mind are hiding from us are really big, okay? And they're hiding because our brain feels like knowing and being aware of these things would actually destroy us. So this is my warning to you that as you're preparing to see the stuff you're hiding from yourselves, the stuff you have hidden from yourself is hidden because it hurts. It hurts really bad. That's why it's hidden. So I just want you to be really aware that you're probably going to have to deal with some ugly stuff, like this kind of stuff that just makes you cry, and it's going to be kind of awful. So just FYI, that's what you're getting yourself into. But as far as I can tell, that's the choice. We get to face the hard stuff voluntarily before it becomes a crisis. Okay, we get to do it on our own time, or we get it forced upon us and we have no choice to deal with it. Okay, that's the big choice. It's going to hurt either way, but do you want it to hurt on your time, or do you want it to show up and present itself in such a way that you cannot control it or impact it, or you just have to deal with what shows up? Okay, for me, I like to have a choice, and for me, I would rather go through the pain on my own time than have it forced upon me and not have any options. And I think you can look back at your own life, because I know that this is true. It's true because you've seen it in your own life and you've seen it in other people's lives, where it's like stuff just shows up and it's like they have no control over it, and they're like, oh my gosh, my life just gets worse and worse. Like, this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and I have no control over it. Well, pause, because it's not true. You do have control over it, but when situations like that happen, it's because the person they're happening to is not conscious. Okay, they have abdicated the throne. Okay, they are not taking sovereignty for their own lives, and because they're not proactively facing this stuff, it's like the conveyor belt just turns on and it just keeps going, because that's the option that we all have. Every human being has this option. Are we going to deal with the conveyor belt of life that just shoves junk at us to make us deal with our problems in our heart? I mean, when I'm talking about the heart problems, I mean our false beliefs. I mean the emotions that we haven't processed, okay? The things that we think that aren't true. Those are the things the conveyor belt of life is trying to force us to deal with. Or we can take a step back and say, okay, I'm going to proactively deal with the things in myself that aren't right. And I'm going to fix the beliefs that aren't true. And I'm going to resolve the emotions that are dragging me down. When we take that proactive step and declare our own sovereignty over our own body, spirit, life experiences, that's when we get off the conveyor belt. And that doesn't mean that we don't have terrible life experiences that kick us in the gut and make us, they drive us to our knees. Our life experiences will still do that. But the difference is it's on your timetable or not. Okay. So this is the big invitation, is to deal with it now. Okay. Scribble it out. Going back to that concept of if things show up that are really painful and you don't know how to deal with them, I just want to give you this resource right now. Okay. allyduzette.com/scribbling has a video of instructions, and and written instructions on how to use this, what I call the scribbling technique, to scribble out the emotional stuff so that you're not just completely destroyed. Okay. Like some people that I've heard from in the past week have been talking about how they are learning all sorts of stuff about like childhood sexual abuse in their family lines and like all of this kind of like very dark, horrible stuff. This is another manifestation of this Scorpio to Taurus energy showing up. Okay. These are people that are getting conscious and they're saying, okay, I want to know the dark stuff so I can resolve it. Well, okay. And here comes all this dark stuff. And then they're like, oh my gosh, this was like quite dark and I didn't expect that. If something comes out that's quite dark and you didn't expect it, I really recommend looking into the scribbling technique. It is so powerful and it's just an easy, simple way to transmute emotions so that when you have big, big feelings, you actually like literally burn the feelings like you burn fat. Okay. And so I have instructions there and yeah, you can figure it out. But that is the number one technique I'm going to recommend for you because it will change your life and it will take those huge emotions that show up by surprise and you will be able to manage them and release them in a matter of minutes instead of letting them take over your life for years. Okay, we're going to tap. Go ahead and take your fingers. You're going to tap on your forehead or your collarbone and we're going to say out loud 3 times each. I'm just going to say these things 3 times in a row and you're just going to read along with me. Okay. I am choosing for the skeletons in my closet to make themselves known to me in a gentle but firm way. I am choosing for the skeletons in my closet to make themselves known to me in a gentle but firm way. I am choosing for the skeletons in my closet to make themselves known to me in a gentle but firm way. I am choosing to consciously recognize the skeletons in my closet and how to heal and neutralize them. I am choosing to consciously recognize the skeletons in my closet and how to heal and neutralize them. I know how to be and feel safe and protected while confronting the skeletons in my closet. I know how to be and feel safe and protected while confronting the skeletons in my closet. I know how to be and feel safe and protected while confronting the skeletons in my closet. I am open to divine insight on how to neutralize the skeletons in my closet during this unique window in time. I am open to divine insight on how to neutralize the skeletons in my closet during this unique window in time. I am open to divine insight on how to neutralize the skeletons in my closet during this unique window in time. Now put your hands on your heart and just take a deep breath. Imagine a tube of light shining down to grace the top of your head. This light contains information on what the skeletons in your closet are that you need to deal with and how to deal with them. Okay, so this is the divine insight. If you believe in God or just like the universe, an all-loving higher power is sending you this information on what you need to deal with and how you're going to deal with it in such a beautiful, graceful way. Okay. You don't have to deal with it by having everything in your life fall apart. You can deal with it with grace. Okay. You can allow it to unfold in a beautiful way and a guided way. Okay. You can trust that our higher power is going to guide us through every step of the journey. You do not need all the answers right away, and you may not have them all immediately, but you're going to see how the knowledge that you need drops into your mind at exactly the right time, not a moment before, but never a moment late. You will know exactly what you need to know in order to resolve the skeletons in your closet in exactly the right way for you. Okay? As you make that your faith, as you believe that, it's going to happen for you. So this is the recap. We have about 5 months to really do some internal healing work around the things that we don't want to face. The hidden stuff in ourselves and the stuff that we don't want to deal with is most likely going to come to bite us in early 2022 and 2023. So we might as well get working on that stuff proactively, okay? As you heal the big stuff from your soul and your past, you open up space for more and more peace and health and wealth and joy in the present. So that is something we didn't really talk about, but it really is true. As you resolve the stuff in your past that you have not resolved yet, you're going to see that it just opens up this beautiful space for you to just be happy. Okay. It's going to be awesome. So this is a really huge gift to us, that we have such a perfect scenario, a perfect energetic backdrop for working out this stuff so that we can just be happy. Okay. That's really the point. The point is to learn how to be happy. And the secret is that a big part of learning to be happy is learning to not do and not hold on to a bunch of stuff that doesn't make us happy. And so we get to deal with that now. Facing and resolving that old stuff is going to free up space so that you can experience the life that you want. So this is a very exciting window of time to focus on that. So what do we do next? And I'm going to recommend journaling, scribbling, meditating, forgiving, and working through your stuff. Okay. And you can do that on your own. If you want my help, come join my Facebook group, Intuitive Healing with Ali Duzette, and please go to aliduzetclasses.com, where there are tons and tons of sessions that you can work through on your own time, and many of them are by donation. So that is just a really affordable way to have me help guide you through a whole bunch of different stuff that you might be dealing with. And so they're all organized by category as far as like topic, and but now's the time to be working through all the stuff that we don't want to do. You can do this. You don't have to spend money. Okay. You can just journal like crazy and scribble like crazy and do all of this like free tapping and stuff. And you can make a big difference to yourself for free. Okay. You don't have to spend tons of your time doing it either. Okay. One thing for me, I just try to work on myself a little bit every day, but a little bit every day adds up. Okay. So just committing to a few minutes a day is going to make a big difference. You do have to make this a priority and commit to the baby steps. Okay. You just do a little bit at a time. It's going to add up. It's going to make a big change for you. Right now, these 4 months are a fulcrum state. Okay. That means that the effort that you put in right now is going to pay off massively down the road. Everything that you resolve right now is going to bless you so much more than you can possibly imagine a year from now. Okay. So these next 5 or so months are an amazing time to just really focus and get serious about resolving the stuff in your heart, mind, soul, and body that have weighed you down. You can do this. I believe in you. Yeah, I do. You can do it, guys. Woo. So go ahead and close your eyes and imagine yourself growing roots into the center of the earth and out for 5 miles in every direction. I'm just manually grounding you. So hopefully you can feel very solid and grounded. And thank you guys so much for being here. I am really glad that you are here. Okay. So my little makeup free, whatever. Okay. Welcome everybody. And now we're going to do a quick Q&A. If you have a question, go ahead and type it into the chat. Or if you have a thought, I want to hear it. And we have about 10 minutes. So we're going to do it. 10 minutes, guys. Get typing. Thank you guys for being here. I just threw this up on my Facebook group about 10 minutes before I decided to do it. But I just knew I just had to get it done. You know, I've been meaning to do it, but we've all had coughs and colds, and it's been really very horrible. And so this is kind of like the first time that I felt like, okay, my throat can handle it. I can do a monologue for a solid hour. Okay. Best advice for staying in a sovereign space during relationship problems. Thank you for that. I love that so much. And one thing that I did not cover it. Yeah, because we do get this great opportunity to be, take our sovereignty and, take responsibility for our lives, except for all these other like pesky humans that are involved, right? Like, what is up with them? Like causing us all these troubles, and you can't control them, right? Like, you can't control your crazy kids, and you can't control your crazy spouse, and like your crazy best friend and your mom and all these people in your life. So how do we stay in a space of sovereignty in a situation where other people do their own lives, right? And so one thing that I will recommend is my marriage class. It's called Heal Your Marriage, Heal Yourself, and it's on allyduzetclasses.com. And it kind of really deals with that 100% because it's all about how do you take your own sovereignty and apply it in a marriage that may be on the rocks, and like you can't control that other person, you can only control yourself. So how do you do this? When it comes to relationships, I think that the most important thing that we need to remember is that every relationship we have the symptom, and then the person's response, and then the other response. Okay, symptom, response, response cycle. Okay, so if someone does something, the other person reacts to that, and then we react to their reaction. Okay. And so you can't control what the other person does, but you can always control your own reaction. Okay. So, your spouse does like this horrible thing, and then you get to choose how to react to it. Okay. You get to say, okay, what the heck were you thinking, and lose your mind. And which then triggers them because they're like, oh my gosh, my like stupid wife is, she just thinks that I'm so stupid. That makes me so mad because she's so stupid. Right. So it creates like this horrible cycle. Or we can, have these things happen and we say, oh, I see that you made that choice. Like, I accept you anyway. And, it kind of neutralizes the cycle before it even starts. Right. The most important thing about relationships is just knowing that we're in charge of our own selves, and like we're in charge of our own reactions. We're in charge of our proactive actions, and then our reactions, and our reactions to their reactions, right? And so for myself, I think I'm not going to say it's easy for me, because especially this past week, one of the skeletons in my own closet was dealing with a major relationship in my life where I just got so bitter because I just thought, well, like I'm always the one that does everything. I always take all the responsibility, and I always try really hard to be a good person. And this person never tries anything, and it is the worst, So I was just like in this horrible space of blame. I'll own it. I was being a jerk. But I do feel that way. I do. And I have felt that way, that like in my own relationships, if there's ever a problem, I'm always the one that says, okay, like if there's a problem in my relationship, like the problems that I have in my relationship are inside of myself, right? They're not the other person's problem. Like any problem that I have in a relationship is my own heart's problem. Because if my own heart perceived this to be fine, then it would be fine and I wouldn't have a problem. So I do a lot of internal work on what are the problems that I'm perceiving actual problems, or are they rooted in like false beliefs and unresolved trauma? And if they are actual problems, then how can I, honor this situation in such a way that it starts getting resolved, And what I found is that most of the time, the real problem is just me, because if I, if I have better boundaries, or like am more forgiving or more understanding, then a lot of times that just like neutralizes the issue. But basically we get this choice to look within and say, okay, what are my false beliefs going on? What are my unresolved traumas that I need to deal with for the sake of this relationship? And then for the stuff that those don't touch, then that's when we have to like have those hard conversations and establish these boundaries. Okay. This was perfect timing for me. How do I share with people who don't understand? So if you could, clarify your question a little bit more. What are you wanting to share with people that don't understand? Are you wanting to share like this concept of like working through our issues proactively because we're like in for it in a while? For me, my own My own personal take is that I don't really feel compelled to explain it to people that don't understand. I get to explain to you guys. Yeah. And I'll be real with you. The people I know in my real life, like, they don't know that I deal with this stuff. Like, we don't talk about this. Like, my neighbors and like my friends that I hang out with in real life, like, we don't talk about this stuff, and they don't get it and they don't understand it. And I feel like, you know what, my job is to be talking with people who want to understand it. And if they don't want to understand, like, that's fine. Because really, at the end of the day, we all are going to be having the exact right, perfect experience for us, you know? So, like, there's so many people in my life that I love, and I wish I could have this conversation with them. And I can't. Like, they are just not open to it. And that's fine. Like, they're gonna deal with this reality either way. You know, maybe a year from now, they're gonna be like all awake because Scorpio will have bitten them in the butt. And then they'll be like, oh my gosh, Allie, like, wow. Like, I've learned so much, you know, like, let's talk about all these things and how it all came to pass. But right now they're like not there. Somebody says, I definitely feel like most people in my life would panic. Yeah, yeah, exactly. A lot of people would panic. My whole thing is, you know, if you want to like lose your mind over this, then go away. Not really. Stay. I like you, but don't lose your mind over it, because there's nothing to lose your mind over, right? We just get to be conscious about it. You know, life is a roller coaster and it's always doing crazy things. But we just get to be aware of it. Okay. And so so my invitation is that you don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to be explaining it to people. The only person that matters is you. And that really is true. Like, we can't control anybody else. We can't make our kids' lives better. We can't make our husbands' lives better. We can't make our best friends' lives better. Like, we can make our own lives better. And when we do that, like, it opens up a space for everybody else to also make their own lives better. But really, at the end of the day, I always just feel like if anybody else is suffering, like, that's very sad, but I just don't want myself to be suffering. So I'm going to prevent my own personal suffering by working on my internal self, and everyone else will just have to deal with it. Okay. I feel like I have this hidden thing around accepting my feminine beauty and my friendliness, but also being terrified that accepting my beauty means that I'm attractive to men. I'm really friendly, and my husband has pointed out that I'm oblivious to the fact that men are flirting with me. I talk to everyone the same, but it's true that I'm probably in denial about it because it feels like I have to give up something, either being friendly with everyone or give up being okay with beauty or femininity. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm in a place of feeling hidden things around my sensuality. This is a really insightful comment, guys. My personal comment. This is all Scorpio energy that's going to be coming up. So this is just very insightful. Okay. Accepting parts of me, even if others view it in a different way than I was trying to present myself. Like, if I'm nice to everyone, but if someone finds me attractive, I feel a lot of interval guilt and shame around if I was trying to actually elicit that response. Hopefully that made sense. Yeah, that did make sense. And this is definitely, again, like this weaponized sexuality concept of Scorpio. I think a lot of people are going to be dealing with this issue of, you know, just hidden stuff around sensuality, sexuality. Yeah, this issue of like flirting versus like, I wasn't meaning to. What I'm going to recommend for this person and for everybody who, it's good for everybody. Okay, just I want you to journal about it. And I mean journal the heck out of it. Like, journal it, tell the same stories over and over. Anything that comes into your mind about this, write about it ad nauseum until there's literally nothing else to write. And it will take you days, it may take you weeks or months, but you'll find as you just start making the unconscious conscious, you're going to find all of these new wisdoms about yourself, and you're going to get some new insights, and that's going to be really good and helpful to you. And again, scribbling, going to that allyduzette.com/scribbling and learning how to scribble out the energies around this. You can just write the energies around my femininity, or like, I don't mean to flirt with people, and like just scribble it out. Just any sentence that feels right, you write it at the top of your paper and follow the instructions and scribble it out. And if you do that for 5 minutes a day for 2 weeks, you're going to see some big shifts around this. Guaranteed, it will be very good. And then you can post about it in my Facebook group and we can all cheer you on and be like, yeah, and hear your cool story because we're going to like it. Okay, how is it only our problem when we are having an issue with someone else? How is it they do not have any responsibility for what they do or do not do? I know I only have control over me, so it is my job to work on how I feel about it, yet it isn't realistic for me to be fine with someone doing something that isn't right, such as my grandfather being a pedo to my boy's cousins. We just found out recently. That is his problem and needs to stop, and stop grooming my nephew, and my sister is too dumb to stop going over there. Okay, that is such a good question. Yeah. When it comes to issues like that, like like obviously pedophilia and this kind of thing, obviously the other person does need to take responsibility and everything, but at the same time, as you pointed out, you can only control you. You can never make the pedo creep take responsibility for his behavior. Like you just can't. Like besides, I mean, like you can take them to court and like call the police and like do all the things that, you know, are legally required if you're grown up that knows about the situation, all that kind of thing. But even then, you can't make that person emotionally take responsibility, right? So in the end, what we can do is whatever we can do and the internal work, right? So how is it only our problem when we're having an issue with somebody else? See, it's not always only our problem, but I have found just for myself, a lot of times the problem is my problem. So one example of this will be like, so I have a child that was recently diagnosed with ADHD. She's a compulsive liar. She loves whacking people. She just wants to cause trouble every day, all day long. Please, she just like can't stop herself. And it's a disaster, you know? So how is it only my problem? Well, it's obviously not. Like, this is not a kind of behavior that can lead to a functional life. Like right now she's 7, so it's like, okay, you're like a little kid, but like this behavior when you're 17 and 27 and 37 is going to be a disaster. So this is not just my problem, right? But here's what is my problem. Me being angry about it. That's my problem. You know, my problem is it keeping me up at night. That's my problem. It doesn't bother her, right? Like she's not staying up at night. It's me. You know, the different emotions that I feel inside, that's my problem. Okay. And like, yeah, it is a big problem. Her behavior is a big problem and she needs to take responsibility for it. And maybe she never will, but I need to take responsibility for my side of the issue. And that's really true for all of our relationships, is the other person may never understand what they've put us through. Like, I know for myself, I used to always like need closure, you know, I need to go talk to the ex-boyfriend so that he knows what really happened and like blah, blah, blah. And like, if only this person just knew how much they really hurt me. Oh, gee, I wish they could just know how mean they were. Oh, you know, guess what? I don't have control over that. I can write them 10,000 letters. I can sit down to them and be like, you're mean. You hurt my feelings. And it doesn't matter, because that, like, telling somebody something doesn't mean they're going to understand it. And so the only thing that we get to do is deal with our own hearts. And so for me, that looks like scribbling out the need for closure. You know, guess what? Maybe I'll never get the closure. So guess what? Goodbye. Releasing that from our energy field. And, you know, and journaling it out. You know, why am I obsessed with needing closure? Like, that's not healthy. You know, how come I can't just allow that person to have their experience and allow me to have my own experience? So yeah, when it comes to like big stuff like pedophilia and stuff like that, like there's obviously legal routes that need to be dealt with, right? And there's boundaries that have to happen. Like if there's an issue of like abuse, right? That's not just in your mind, right? And so, but like when it comes to things like, for me, feeling taken for granted at home, Who here has ever felt taken for granted at home? I have a bunch of moms on here. We all have. I know all of us have had that moment where we've sat there and said, like, oh my gosh, I do everything and nobody appreciates me because I'm the best and they're the worst and everyone just like takes me for granted. Okay, that's where I've been this whole week, where everyone's been sick, but I've had to keep it together for everyone else. And I'm sitting there like, how come I have to do everything? And that's a problem where it's strictly internal. Okay, guess what? People take each other for granted every day, and we just have to deal with it. And we can be bitter about it, or we can look within and just say, okay, the real problem here isn't that I'm being taken for granted. The real problem is that I'm bitter about feeling taken for granted. That's the real problem. Okay. And so for all of the problems in our lives, we have that chance to look within and say, is the real problem that my kid is a jerk? Or is the real problem that when she's a jerk, I'll lose my mind? That's the real problem. The real problem is I'm losing my mind and I need to stop losing my mind. The real problem is I can't sleep and I need to stop not sleeping over this. It's not worth losing my sleep over. Okay. So yeah, we get this chance to have control over our own selves. And again, there's these times where we need to have a firm boundary and where we need to, terminate a relationship and close the door and, all things in wisdom and order, right? It's not wise to just say, oh, I'm in an abusive relationship. It's all in my mind. Like, I just need to come to terms with it in my heart. Like, no, if there's actual abuse, then you need to have boundaries and leave and like take the legal steps to resolve it. But there's also plenty of problems that we all deal with. All of us have problems that are strictly in our own minds. Again, like feeling taken for granted. That's not a problem. The problem is feeling bitter about it, right? And so we need to be the one to step back and say, okay, is this problem a problem where I need to take legal action and like have a firm boundary and maybe take my physical body and go to a different place? Or is this a problem that is in my own heart and I need to have a different perspective and I need to release my emotions about this issue? So we all get that chance. So thank you for asking a question. That is like such a good question. And so thanks for letting me wax eloquent about it for a moment. Okay, guys. Well, our time is just about up. If anybody has like the world's quickest question, if you have a final thought, you can type it in like so fast. Otherwise, we will call it a night, and I'm going to put this up on YouTube. And so, if you have friends that you really do want to share this with, like, you can share this video with them, of course. I'm going to put it up. So that will be fun. And if you feel like, maybe they just need to flounder along and see what happens for 2022, that's fine too. All of us are going to deal with it at some point. So I'll just close with that little note real quick. Geez, when I first discovered astrology, not true. I knew about astrology for like many years, but when I first started really realizing that the daily transits were just like so impactful, I would sit there and think like, oh my gosh, it's a new moon this week. It's a quarter moon. Like it's a full moon. It's a like third quarter moon. And like, all the moon phases can like really, affect your energy field. And you have all these beautiful chances to deal with these really specific situations. And I just got so overwhelmed with it because I wanted to keep up with it. I wanted to understand everything that was going on all the time and like use it for its ultimate potential, for my own healing. Cause I just want to do that. I just want to like clear out all my junk. I just don't want to be a loser. I don't know. I just want to heal myself. And so I got really into it, got really overwhelmed. And then one day I realized, like I don't have to be like this. I don't have to know everything. Cause guess what? All of the stuff is happening whether or not I know about it. So like, I don't need to know about it. And that's really the secret. Your loved ones don't have to know about it. The people you care about don't need to know about it. Like nobody needs to know about the nodal shift. Nobody needs to know about the Pluto return. Nobody has to know because it's going to happen either way. And for me, I do believe that we have this all-loving higher power that is going to make sure that everybody has exactly the experiences that they need for them. Okay, so we have the one up because we get to choose to go into it with a happy heart and a good attitude, and we get to go into it and say, I know what's happening. I get it. I know what's happening here. My skeletons are coming out of the closet, and so I'm going to resolve them without losing my mind and without freaking out. And maybe other people are not going to have that good attitude that we get to be blessed with, because we choose it, you know, because you're here and we're choosing to do that. But you can always choose to have a good attitude. Like, that's really the secret. You can always choose to have a good attitude. You can always choose to be proactive in your life. So you don't need to know everything. You don't have to know all the moon phases and all of these like big transits. I think it's interesting, and so I want to talk about it, and that's why I make these presentations and talk about them. But no one else, like, you don't have to know that. Your life is going to be fine. Your life is going to be good without knowing that. You don't have to know it. It can be helpful to know it because it's going to give you that new perspective and give you some ideas on how to prepare for different things. But either way, like, things just happen. And so we can just let it happen. So I just want to encourage you to just relax and like be happy. And you know what? You did your 2-minute exercise of writing down skeletons in your closet, and you took 1 minute to write down the first step on dealing with them. And that's exactly right. Like, we don't have to lose our minds here. We don't have to like go crazy. Okay. We don't even have to really know about all the stuff that I talked about. It's just kind of fun to know, and it's useful to know. And if you felt called to watch it, then it was important for you to know. But on like a global scale, our job as humans is kind of just sit back and enjoy the ride, right? We're all on this like roller coaster of the universe that's called life. And if we go into it with a good attitude, looking for ways to heal our hearts, we're going to find them. And it won't matter how the stars have aligned for that moment. Like, we won't have to know about that. It's going to be fine. So I just want to tell you that things are fine. And so I hope that you're smiling right now. Okay. I hope you're having a good night. And I'm just really excited for all of us to take these perspectives and really apply them and move forward and make our lives so much better. The world can fall apart, but your life does not have to fall apart. Okay. So that is my big message to you tonight. So thank you guys for being here. And I've already started my next presentation about this stuff, so it's going to be awesome. Okay. Good night, guys.